Mannana Vidhan Shubhan Rinam Varnashraman Cha Sarvabhuta Hita Sada. Synonyms: ear, who; Prishta, being questioned; Munibhi, by the sages; Praha, spoke; Dharman, the duties; Nanavidham, many varieties; Subhan, auspicious; Nrinam, of human society; Varnashraman, none, of the Varna and Ashrama; Cha, and Sarvabhuta, of for all living beings; Hita, who does welfare; Sada, always. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. In reply to questions asked by certain sages, he, Swayambhu Manu, out of compassion for all living entities, taught that diverse sacred duties of men in general and the different varna and ashramas. Verse number 39. Etat adi rajasya manascharitam adbhutam varnitam varnayasya tad aptodayam shrunu. Etat adirajasya manascharitam adbhutam varnitam varnayasya tad aptyodayam shrunu. Synonyms: Etat, this, they, unto you, Adi Rajasya, of the first emperor; Mano, of Swayambhu Manu; Charitam, the character; Adbhutam, wonderful; Varnitam, described; Varnayasya, whose reputation is worthy of description; Tad Apatya, for his of his daughter; Udayam, to flourishing, to the flourishing; Shrunu, please listen. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. I have spoken to you of the wonderful character of Swayambhu Manu, the original king, whose reputation is worthy of description. Please hear as I speak of the flourishing of his daughter Devahuti. Purport. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the third canto, 22nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. ओम अज्ञानातिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमो। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखावितं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु वच पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमो। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Achal Nivas Nitya Paramatmane Balaಭದ್ರ Subhadra Jagannathaye Namo. So thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha every day morning, starting your day by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, the greatest scripture ever. And this chapter is coming to an end. This chapter where the marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti is explained after Swayambhu Manu comes with his wife Satrupa, the first human being based on which the progenitors of this entire world has evolved. He comes with his wife Satrupa to ask for the marriage of his daughter with the glorious sage Kardama Muni. And in this chapter, there is a dialogue which is happening. And here, Maitreya Muni, this is actually a dialogue happening between Vidurji and Maitreya Muni. So in a recursive loop, as you know, this discussion between Maitreya Muni and Vidurji is happening, wherein Kardama Muni's hand is being asked by Swayambhu Manu for marriage for Devahuti. So here in these two verses, there is a glorification on the topics around Varnashram. As you can see, Yahu is being questioned here by the sages, which is who is none other than Swayambhu Manu, has relegated his duties, dharman, and his duties are many varieties. And when you hear about his duties of a king, Swayambhu Manu, and and the way he's actually delegating, working around with full attention, is for the human society is very auspicious, because hearing that you get inspiration to lead a material life with focus on Krishna consciousness. And here he is giving importance to all varnas and ashramas, varnashramanan, of the varnas and ashramas. And he is taking care of all living beings, sarva bhuta. He does welfare, and he does it all the time. And then there is also a glorification around this first emperor of the world, Swayambhu Manu, that his charitam, his character, is adbhutam. Adbhutam means wow. Adbhutam is wonderful. His charitam is wonderful, and it is described, varnitam, whose reputation is worthy of description. So whenever you speak about news, you really do not speak about news when people are arguing, people do not have character, people have so much of corruption around. You people about a person whose charitam, whose character is worthy of description. And who is that person? He is Swayambhu Manu. And he is talking about his flourishing, his beautiful daughter, wedding with Kardama Muni, and that wedding is glorious. And from them, the progeny is going to be Kapila Dev, who is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if you think about, most of the time, if you think about kings and queens at this point in time, or prior 100 years, 200 years, there was a lot of corruption happening in society, in character, in the way they were dealing with it. But here, you're talking about a spotless character, Charitam, whose character is spotless, and he was constantly thinking about the welfare of the subjects of the kingdom of Varnashram, how to protect the methods which is laid out by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita. He mentioned Chaturvarnam Maya Shrishtam. See, all these four varnas has come from me. So with that direction, Swayambhu Manu, who's actually, Krishna mentions to Arjuna that I have also mentioned this Bhagavad Gita to Swayambhu Manu as well. So he has taken the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and implementing it in a practical manner by being a king. And when you basically hear about the great qualities and great personalities, the traits which brings this great qualities action, it is actually an example to follow. So quite a lot to ponder about this very powerful personality. Tomorrow we'll start a new chapter, but this is a fitting end to a glorious personality who is Swayambhu Manu. So here in Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned, Yad Yad Acharati Shrishta Tat Tat Evar Taro Jana Sayat Pramanani Kurute Lokasta Anuvartati. That means whatever the great personality does, whatever his performance is, common man follows. So whenever you need a good society, you keep great people at the top. When the great people are at the top, they're chanting regularly, they're regulated, they're Krishna conscious. Uh, Everybody tends to be Krishna conscious. Everybody tends to chant well, follow the regulative principles. There is no cruelty in this world. There's compassion. So this world is a great place. But if you really want to spoil the system, you put a bad person at the top, and the system by itself will get spoiled. You don't have to do anything else. So Lord Krishna very beautifully explains, Yad Yad Acharati Sasta. Whatever we do as a parent, our children follows. Whatever we do as an employee, our people who are reporting to us, they follow. Whatever we do um, as any responsible person, whether you are playing or whether you are doing a service, whether you are doing some job, whether you're leading a way in which you're basically building things. So you'll see that many of these companies, if you see how these companies are made, they are built with people with strong conviction about that's their thought process, and they drive it towards an exemplary fashion in such a way that others who get motivated by their inventions, discoveries, they really follow that. So that's the reason why in any institution, if you see, if things are going not going in place, if things are, Bhakti Maharaj says, the rule applies to us. Whenever we see something, we have to apply it to us, and if we do it right, it is good. If we don't do it right, rule applies to us. So likewise, if you want to see the situation of a particular temple or organization, you'll realize that most of the time the person who is driving it is more responsible, because everybody looks up at the way the person is administrating, governing, inspiring. There are, and we all are, and none of us are perfect other than Krishna. So it is bound to be imperfections. But Swayambhu Manu, the king, the first emperor of this material world, is someone based on which we all can lean in and lead our life. That's exactly what the discussion between Maitreya Muni and Vidurji is happening, as the engagement, or rather the marriage discussions are happening. So human society is actually meant for realization of perfection of Krishna consciousness. The human society is not for making money, or making, five or 10 kids, or the main objective of human society is to understand that we are not the body, we are the soul, and we are eternal servants of the Supreme, and we have to serve him by austerity. So this is a journey, this is not the end. We think that we'll build so much of money that our subsequent generations will get benefited, and they will always stick to the principles we have laid out. It's not that. It's an ability to uh, basically share and serve the Supreme's actions and words. So Swayambhu Manu has written a treatise wherein the laws of Manu, or Manu Smriti, it is actually the Manava Dharma Shastra. So what that means is the laws of life, in terms of our leading the life, has actually been extracted from the scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and is being put forth by the experiences of the first emperor, the first human being of this mankind, and based on that, the laws of life. So from him we have to learn the practical ways. So that's why the rules are very important. Rules have to be followed to fulfill our material needs and spiritual. If everybody follows rules, the system is in an autopilot mode. Everybody does their own activity, then everything happens in autopilot. There is no gaps, there is no cleanliness, no uncleanliness. Everything is actually, so uh, if the assignments are very clear, communicated very sweetly, very nicely, expectation, accountability, then it will go run in an autopilot mode, which is why the importance of rules is so significant. Everybody has to follow rules. It's not as if in a place, in a developed country like US or Europe, everybody is in the mindset of King Harishchandra, and they don't have any negative. It is because they have fear for enforcement, because the enforcement is so strong that if they do a mistake by driving car in the left side in US, there will be consequences. So they follow the rules properly. It's not as if these persons who are here are consciously ahead of others. It's not that. It's because the rules are so well laid out, well displayed, well understood, that everybody follows rules, everybody knows what is expected of them. So that is the reason why the rules has to be important, so that if you don't follow the rules, there are consequences. So likewise, day-to-day life of of kids going to school, following a regulative principle of eating lunch at the right time, eating breakfast at the right time. So and Swami Manu teaching us how to stay close to Krishna. Attend Mangalarati, Japa, Katha, Prasad, spiritual atmosphere created by our actions. So it basically leans in on all our day-to-day activities, and that's how we really it basically gives us impetus to become very greater individuals. So if you watch something which is not Krishna conscious, then later there are negative consequences. So we have to lead life based on rules, and we should wake up, start our day in a way which is conducive to the way the life's manual is written. Not We don't really fix a car by not following the life car's manual. Otherwise, you'll break the car, and that is exactly so. So, how to stay in the material life and end up focusing on Krishna? So, there are many examples of material personalities who have done wonderful things in staying connected with 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 the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and the greatest personality, in my opinion, for today, based on this sloka, is King Janak. Janak Maharaj was a king, but he was at the time the kings were rajarshis. They were kings, but they have mentality of a rishi with total detachment. So when King Janaka used to come to his guru Yajnavalkya, he used to have a front seat empty for him. There are some uh, disciples of the sage who were envious of Janak Maharaj. Why he is given a front seat? We are living in a hermitage. We are living in a temple setting. Why we are given back seat? But this person, he's a king. He's actually doing living in a palatial bungalow, but and he has not. He comes with dresses which is very much material in nature, and we are living in our loin cloths, and we are given a, so there is a dissatisfaction, and Yajnavalkya was aware of it. So and he wanted to uh, recognize this and solve it for everybody's clarification. So there was a message that there is a forest fire which is coming from all the way, and in the meantime a subordinate of Janak Maharaj comes to the hermitage and says and talks to Janak Maharaj, saying that, hey, Maharaj, the forest fire has come, and it has engulfed everything. Your palace is half burnt. What to do? Janak Maharaj calmly sat, instructed him, and the person left. But in the meantime, the students who were very worried and envious of Janak Maharaj, they were running around to save their loin two-piece clothes in the backyard of the hermitage, because the forest fire is going to burn their clothes. So when the the they recovered their clothes and came back to the seat, Yajnavalkya, sage Yajnavalkya, mentioned, look, Janak Maharaj has the entire kingdom, and his palace is burnt. He is still in the front seat waiting for my instructions, and you are gone to save two pieces of cloth. This is your consciousness. So it doesn't matter the position you have, or the money you have. It's how you siphon and how you channelize this for Krishna consciousness. It doesn't matter. It actually matters whether you are constantly thinking. There are many Krishna conscious devotees in our movement who do not have a lot of money, who do not have a position, but they're immensely conscious, they're immensely talented, and they're immensely connected with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And they lead their life in such a way that by just following the life of them, and they are liberated and they are always going back to Godhead. It is because wherever they are always thinking about the Supreme. Exactly like Janak Maharaj. He was a king, but he didn't care for his palace to be burnt or not, exactly like Swayambhu Manu, who was leading the kingdom based on the instruction of he was enjoying his material life in a sense that he has to create progenies for this world to evolve. But at the same time, he was constantly thinking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every step of the way. As at the time, 2 verses back, you might have heard that during Swayambhu Manu's time, when people used to go to sleep, in the evening there will be bhajans and there will be kirtans. People will uh, go to sleep with a serene life, not dreaming about wrong things, but dreaming about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whether they are awake or dreaming, the care for the Supreme Personality of Godhead was there, and that's how they channelized their life. So it doesn't matter whether you live in a hermitage or you live in a material palace or a material colonial or a townhouse. It matters how connected you are in every step of the way you lead your life. And another great example is right with us. You all have heard about the emails about TOVP, Ambarish Prabhu. He's the great grandson of Alfred Ford, and he's spending all his life earned for Temple of Vedic Planetarium, which is taking shape. Srila Prabhupada is already there, and there are other deities who are going to be installed over a period of time. So this is an example, it's a classic example of how we have to channelize our thoughts, our activities, and our deeds to Krishna consciousness. And when we as individuals, leaders in whatever shape we are, you may be a leader in your home as a father, or you are a leader in your company as a leader or a manager or whatever the case may be, or in a temple doing some service in a small department you may have, because there's nothing like this is small or big, because you are actually leading your through your actions. We are uh, we are inspiring or negatively sort of driving people away from Krishna. So our intent, our action should be such that by seeing our actions, people come, make our temple a clean place, so that people from all sect of life comes and spend time. It should not repel it should be in such a bright, lighted, nice community, so that people come attracted, exactly like how Swayambhu Manu is being mentioned here. He had compassion for all living entities, and he he basically taught the diverse sacred duties of men from the varnashram, this varna and ashrama, uh, and and basically through his dealings, through his actions, through his administration, through the steps he did to administer taxes, administer way of life in his kingdom, was actually an example for all of us to follow. And the last verse of this chapter, where Vyasadeva is ending the chapter by speaking about the wonderful character of Swayambhu Manu, the original, the first and foremost king of this universe, of this material universe, whose reputation is worthy of description for all of us to follow and to imbibe, to get inspiration from. So, as we hear in the mornings, as we hear about these great personalities, there are many kings who have led their life with example, like Janak Maharaj, like Ramji. Ramji just couldn't stand a washerman, a dhobi or a washerman in that sense, you know, speaking bad about his old life, and he led by example. and that was that's the reason why whenever people lead a kingdom and the kingdom is well managed, well administered, it is mentioned that this kingdom is like Ramarajya because it is dealt with Yad Yad Acharati Shrestha as the main guiding principle, because uh, how the kings operate, how the kings behave, how the kings wake up, how the kings deal with their life. And if you see 800, 900,000 years ago, kings become very corrupt. They they were leading a very material life with enjoyment, taking taxes from the subjects by misusing the funds. But the great examples of Ramji, great examples of Janak Maharaj. Janak Maharaj was the father of Mother Sita, and from them, so many inspiring activities took place. And there are many kings, for that matter, who were always thinking and meditating, are always constantly working for the Supreme Personality of Godhead in that sense. And through his actions, they inspired thousands and and millions of people. So this chapter is coming to an end, and we will be going to another very powerful chapter wherein there will be subsequent follow-ups on this pastime get extending and taking shape. So Swayambhu Manu's character is spotless. Even if he was a king, he was leading a life of a king with enjoying the material life. He was an example for all of us. So thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the third canto, 22nd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Marriage of Kardama Muni in Devabhuti. Hari Bol. So thank you so much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. We may have some time. If we don't, we can end here. Thank you so much. Dandavad Pranam. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So if Madhupati Prabhu is not there, but if there is no question, we can end here. So let's end here. If with your permission, let's end here by offering obeisances at the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas by chanting Vancha Kalpataruvascha Vaivacha Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo. And hope
Namo.
Nrsimhadev bestows mercy. Om Jai Nrsimha, Jai Nrsimha, Jai Jai Shri Nrsimha. Pralhadeshu Jai Padma Mukha Bratma Bhringa. Ugram Veeram Mahavishnu Jalantam Sarvatmukha. Shingham Bhishanam Bhadram. Mrityur Namamiha. Nrsimha Bhagavan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Hari Bol.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.